everyone, this is the second exercise that you were doing yesterday for homework, and it's about recursive formulas. I'm just going to show you how to do each type of question. There's only two types of questions. So the first one, you just have to find the first 5 terms, and it's given you a formula, which I've written very messily there, I do apologise. And the second one, you just had to find, so working backwards, find the general term, and they've given you the sequence. So let's have a look at part 1, and then we'll do part 2, and then hopefully you'll have a better understanding of how to get it working. So the first 5 terms, they have to give you the first term for a recursive formula, otherwise you won't know where to start because it's telling you to rely on the one before it. And that's what this u to the n minus 1, and if I had have written it nicely, u to the n minus 1, that just means the last term. If it said u to the n minus 2, that would be the term before that, so 2 before. So let's have a look at this one. So we've got u to the n equals minus 4 times whatever 1 was before it, but the first term is 1. So we start with our first term is 1, which is much nicer, and then our second term is just going to be minus 4 times 1. And then our next term after that would be minus 4 times 1 times whatever this term ends up being as well. Times another minus 4. And then we could keep going for 3 and 4, but it's actually easier just to work them out as you go along. So we know we start with 1, minus 4 times 1 is just going to be minus 4. Minus 4 times 1, which is minus 4, times another minus 4, we end up with positive 16, and it's just asking us to do that pattern again. So minus 4 times 16 is going to be negative 64, and then the next term would be negative 64 times 16 as well, which would be like 200 and something. So that's all you have to do for that style of one. Let's have a look at the number B. I just want to go through as fast as I can with you so you don't spend all day on these ones. So we've got a different formula, so minus 2 divided by the term before, and we know we start at 3. So we're going to go 3 is our first term, and then minus 2 divided by the term beforehand is going to be 3. Our next one is going to be minus 2 divided by the term beforehand. So divided by minus 2 over 3. Now remember, when you are doing this, when you are dividing by a fraction, you flip and multiply across. Flip the second fraction and multiply across, so you're multiplying by the reciprocal. So that's going to be minus 2 times 3 over minus 2, and so we're going to end up with a positive 6 on minus 2, which is, oh sorry, that would have been a minus on the minus, so we're going to end up with positive here, which is going to be positive 3. Oh, look, we've come back to the beginning. So for this one, we're going to have minus 3, minus 2/3 is our second one, and then positive 3 here. I'm guessing that our next one is going to be minus 2/3, then we're going to end up with back at 3, which would happen because for our next place, minus 2 divided by 3, and we've already done this calculation before, so the fifth part is going to be 3 again, and this sequence would just go back and forth between those two values. For the second part, you need to find a recursive formula for the general term. I should have written formula in there, I do apologise. For the general term. Now because it's asking for a recursive formula, it means that it wants it in terms of the one beforehand. So like we had over here, where it's giving you in terms of the term before. Otherwise, you would look at this and you could just do what you did from last exercise, which is look at it as an arithmetic sequence. So because we have a common difference here, each time we're just subtracting 2, subtracting 2, subtracting 2. But because the question is asking us for a recursive formula, we need to write it in terms of the term beforehand. So our first term is minus 2, so we need to write that down. u1 equals minus 2. And then all we have to do is write it in terms of the term beforehand. So what have we done to the minus 2 to get this one? So pretend we're trying to get minus 4. What have we done to get from minus 2 to minus 4? We've subtracted 2. So that's all we have to write. We say we get the term beforehand and minus 1, and we subtract 2. And that's all you have to write for part A. Let's look at part B. Again, you might recognize this as a geometric sequence. So 1 times 4 is 4 times another 4 is 16. So again, this is a geometric sequence. It's not necessarily a recursive sequence, but it has asked us to write it in terms of a recursive sequence. So that's all we need to do. We start with what's our first term? Our first term is 1. And what are we doing to 1 to get to the next one is the question. So un is going to be the term before and minus 1, and we times by 4. And if you check your answers, it's probably not going to write it like this, because it would definitely prefer you to write it as 4 times u and minus 1, where the first term is 1. And that's how you do it. Let me know how you go, and any questions, just pop me an email. Thanks, guys.